you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for knives to give into the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Finally, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am the People's Pundit, Rich Barris. It is Freewheeling Friday. And damn if testing late last night didn't work just fine. And then that happened today. So we had to kick back to the fail-safe. I really wanted to get Benjamin on, the assistant producer of Plot Against the President. We're going to talk about, well, it's in the news, it's in the ticker right there. We'll talk a lot, but about a lot of things. But let's get into a couple things that happen here, and then I'll bring on Ben. All right? So Nikki Haley had a really bad week. I can't imagine why Trump told her to pound sand. Listen, Nikki and everybody else, let this be a lesson to you. All of you who want pound salt. Yeah. Kick sand, pound salt, right? All of you who have you aspire to be president of the United States one day, but you're a two-faced backstabber. Just remember, let this be a lesson to you. Before you go trash talk people behind their back, you may want to wonder, those people you're trash talking to, whether or not they called me to ask you if you stood a snowball's chance in hell and was a waste of their money. Because I will rat you out from this point forward. All right. So I'm glad Trump told her to go kiss it. Next time, maybe don't take the two-face tour of donor country, and that won't happen to you. So basically, she tried an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, which was an I'm sorry kind of an op-ed or a walk back, and then asked to meet. And he told her, kiss my grits, man. No, I don't want to meet with you. All right. So the Carolina cabal got what was coming to them. I love that, by the way. People were sharing clips of that. The show the other day, the Carolina cabal, they called it. That's it right there. That is it. Scott, Graham, the lot of them. Take your Nikki and stuff it. So in 48 hours, we destroyed the establishment Republicans' top pick for the 2024 Republican nomination. She's gone. I mean, she can run if she wants and waste her money. But we derailed that train in 48 hours. And thanks to the president, that's a wrap for her. All right. So now we have John Thune and company crying like little babies that Donald Trump isn't playing fair in the primary wars. He is engaging in cancel culture. I'm going to bring on Ben because we were talking a little bit before the show. I don't think he understands what that term means. Neither does Benjamin. All right, Benjamin, let me bring you in, buddy. Let me bring it. And the connection may be a little bit, they're throttling. So everybody just, everyone's home and the bandwidth is what it is. So take it with a grain. All right. But Ben, you're the system producer of the Plot Against the President. We were talking a little bit before we went on. What do you think about this? What do you think about this with the Republican establishment in the Senate whining?
If it isn't so shocking, I feel sorry for them in a lot of ways, because it's a fundamental problem, I think, that they have, which is, the human condition is always geared towards survival. These people, they're not rational. What their focus is that they just want to survive. And their goal is, how do I keep my job? And how do I maintain the position I have within government or whatever position it is? This runs across party lines. It runs across industries, but that's what you're seeing. And the thing that infuriates me the most, and it's funny because it happened to me the other day, and this is the analogy I give, is it's like, imagine if I sat you down and I said, hey, Rich, I'm going to show you this amazing magic trick. And I show it to you. And I'm like, look at how messed up, this whole thing is. You're like, wow, how did you do that? How did you make that happen? And so I said, okay, I'm going to show it to you, but you got to remember how I did this. And so I show you this trick. And then you go again back to whatever world you live in, and some idiot does the same trick on you and you fall for it. These guys will never learn because they don't know the fundamental concept of what cancel culture is. So it's like they pretend like they know. They're like, yeah, I know. But deep down, they're trying to justify what amounts to a primary, which is a regular contest of ideas. That's the antithesis of cancel. Cancel culture is, I don't want to hear your ideas, therefore I'm going to find something completely unrelated to those ideas, blow it up into a big deal, and destroy your life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You couldn't have put it, you really can't put it any better than that. And the beginning, what you said with your in the open, I think a lot of people forgot the nature of politicians. And it's not just politicians, but I mean, it's in the business world. They're not rational. And they don't make, it's like they can make these bad decisions over and over again, Ben, because they don't, that's not their, like, to learning and growing is not their goal. That's not at the forefront of their mind, right? So getting smarter politically, listening to their constituency, that's not their goal.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's like,
go ahead.
There are three things that drive, there are three things that drive human behavior, and all of them are predictably irrational. So the first one is money. The second one is power. And then the third one, which is what we all suffer from, is the desire to not be wrong. Nobody wants to be that guy who's like, wow, you were wrong. And so we trick our mind into believing that it must have been somebody else. So in the minds of these establishment Republicans, they could never fathom the fact that Trump was right and they were wrong. In their mind, that's just not, the mind doesn't allow that to happen. So they come up with every bullshit reason, which is the Nikki Haley thing. It's like Nikki Haley, she just can't wrap her head around this idea. And then she realizes it. I got a phone going on in the background.
That's all right. Just ignore it. We'll push forward. Just ignore it.
It's John Thune calling me right now to yell.
It's John Thune right there. That's funny.
So these guys, they just can't wrap their mind around the fact that they're wrong. And it's fun to watch. Like, it's actually a lot of fun to see when you know the game, because they'll twist themselves into circles trying to rationalize why something happened the right way or the wrong way. And when it goes wrong, they just keep spinning yarns, and they just can't get to the fact that they were just wrong. Yeah. It's the simplest thing. And they can't do it.
Yeah, that's what people say all the time. Well, why didn't they learn from Georgia? If you look at the map and what happened with the Georgia runoffs, how could they just blame Trump? It's very clear. If you look at it objectively, it's very clear what happened there. I mean, they did not earn the vote of that constituency. They didn't Democrats didn't really win those races. Republicans lost them.
I think
And
it was bigger than a loss, Rich. I think
yeah,
Republicans wanted, like I know personally in my family, we discussed it. We wanted the Republicans to lose.
yeah.
It was almost like you got to clean house to rebuild.
Yeah, we spoke to a lot of people in what we do 3 polls of that race. I mean, there were so many, Ben, who were just like, look, I know Warnock and Ossoff are going to be horrible senators. I know it. I'm a Republican, been voting Republican for years. They need to be punished this time. They need to feel the pain. We can't just keep allowing them to expect compliance in our vote. There has to be a point where we say enough. And this, to me, this is my point. I'm done. And so we knew it was going to happen. Sometimes you hope you're wrong, but I mean, it was very clear, and it was exactly in 2 parts of the state where you would expect that to happen. And that's why it's like, going back to what you said, then you would fully expect Nikki Haley to push forward with her run, even though every logical or rational conclusion that you could draw would tell you she's failed before she started. But you would expect her to continue because they can't comprehend it. They can't allow themselves to grip that they were wrong. They just can't. So she'll just keep on in the hope and dream that she can say, "I told you so."
Her fault is it goes back to the beginning when she joined Trump. Because remember, she was totally anti-Trump. Remember her whole little tweet, like what was it, the whole Southern charm thing? Bless your heart, right?
Yep.
So her whole thing is that when she hears how popular she is on her UN policy, well, that was real. But what she doesn't understand is that she draws her power from Trump. People follow her because they liked Trump.
Yeah.
And I love using Megyn Kelly as a good example of this exact mentality. When Megyn Kelly was at Fox News and she was going up against Trump during the 2016 election, people were tuning in. And she got full of herself. She thought they're watching her, that it's about her. And so she's like, yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to, what was it, ABC or NBC? I forgot which
NBC. Yeah,
right.
NBC.
And I knew that day, I'm like, this woman is screwing up because she's locked into gold. She's growing because Trump is giving her that power. People like Trump, so they're tuning into her to hear what she has to say. The minute he pulls the plug on that, everything falls apart. It's the same thing with Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley's success is completely drawn from Trump. The minute he pulls that plug, no one's following her. It's like the mentor idea. I will trust whoever my mentor believes in because I trust my mentor. And if my mentor says this is the guy to follow, I follow that guy. If my mentor doesn't follow that person now, I'm like, well, if that person is not good enough for the person I respect the most, then that person is not good enough for me. And it's like you said, she's dead on arrival. There is no way she could make it through a primary.
I don't even think she can win her home state. I really don't. Not after what we saw in 16. I mean, Trump won all 50. He took even Horry County, which is the very country club Republican, the sweater vest, kind of Republican, and he still took that county, Ben. Where is her constituency?
Well, Rich, people will forgive you for like the worst crimes in the world, right? But what they won't forgive you for is lying to them and stabbing someone that you believe in the back. They just won't do it. She could literally have killed little puppies, and they would have said, "Well, as long as you're apologetic." Like, there is no level of depravity that people won't forgive, except for being dishonest to you and lying. Nobody likes people to be dishonest and lying.
As Dante saved that last circle in hell for the betrayers, Ben. He saved that last circle for the people. Forget this stuff. I mean, people better read up on their classics because the betrayal thing is just too much. And and as you're talking, I'm thinking when she gave, do you remember that speech that she gave at the UN about North Korea? And it was like, it got a lot of fanfare in media, right?
Yeah.
We had put that up. We had gotten the stream and we put that up. It, in the first couple of hours, got like 40,000 views, and ultimately it was one of the most viewed videos ever on People's Pundit Daily. It went into the millions. And when we looked in Clicky, which is the analytics that we used at the time for People's Pundit Daily, the search term that led them to that video was Rocket Man UN. So like people were putting in some version of something Trump said about Kim Jong-un, and then the United Nations. So it wasn't even Nikki Haley's speech to the UN. It was crazy.
She drew her power directly from Trump. But Rich, why do you think she did what she did the last couple of weeks? Like, what's on her mind? Like, what's with the bipolar switching from, he led us down this crazy path and we were like, she's acting like he's some Rasputin, and she got Pied Pipered into following him. Like, what is it that made her switch from one extreme to the other, back to the other, like suddenly wanting to take a meeting in Mar-a-Lago? What was the calculus there?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that for a couple of years, I mean, she's been going around to the donor class and saying that I want the Trump vote. I want it. And I want to build my bona fides around that I worked for him and I carried out his foreign policy vision, but that I can do better. So she was trying to walk this line of, I serve the president faithfully, but for those of you who didn't like certain things about him, I am better than this and this way. But privately, she would say that, and her own thoughts were she couldn't stand him. She could not stand him. And it was dishonesty from the jump, and they were waiting for this opportune moment to basically just put a fork in him. And they thought that moment was when he was going to defend himself on impeachment. They really did think that if they could derail his defense, that he would be damaged this time. I know it sounds stupid to those of us who think, right? Right. But I mean, it sounds dumb because how many things has this man been through that did not damage him? It did not permanently weaken him. Yet they are still convinced that there is some event, there's something that can happen that will damage him irreparably, permanently. That's it. They don't get it. It's not like they believe they're right.
It's like we were talking earlier. They're not part of us, so they can't see what we see.
Yeah.
You can shake them all day long, but you can't wake somebody up unless they get woke themselves. Like you take the red pill, you see it, you wake up to what's really going on, and you can never go back. Like I can't watch a movie anymore without seeing all of the political, cultural garbage they want to pump in there anymore. Like I see it, it's blatant, and so it kills everything I watch. And then the regular person watches it, and they're like, "Oh, this is great." I'm like, "But didn't you see that? And didn't you see that?" They don't see it. In her mind, she's living on another planet, and she will never get to what we as Trump supporters see, because they're like, "We're just being duped."
Yep.
Yep. They think his weaknesses are what will get us to leave him. And the crazy thing is, his weaknesses, in a lot of ways, are what make him endearing, because we see ourselves in that image. Like, we wouldn't want to be in that situation where we're doing our best. It's the effort, and that's nobody's just looking for like a talking head politician. They're looking for someone to put themselves at risk, like make yourself vulnerable. I think that is the key. It's the vulnerability that people like to see.
Yeah, and I think too, and we can still, audio is getting a little choppy, but we can still make it out. Bottom line, I think you nailed it. I think you really did nail it there, that we do see ourselves in these flawed people, these flawed characters, right? And especially those on the, I don't even want to say the right, because Trump really, it's more than that. You can't really you can't put it in a box like that. People who are disadvantaged or not even disadvantaged, their thoughts are not accepted, they're like persecuted. So you see the attacks on him as attacks on you, and there's like no, and you're not perfect, so there's almost nothing, and they don't get this because they don't live with the rest of the populace. There's almost nothing that they can do to him to shake
You
that
know,
foundation. Nothing.
Rich, you were asking about cancel culture earlier. I was thinking the other night, like, when was the first moment we jumped the shark on real cancel culture? Because it's one thing when you set a standard and suddenly it bites you in the ass. Now your people are getting canceled. But in my mind, there was one moment where the left basically said, we're just not going to play by the rules anymore. Like, we're going to set the standard of what you get canceled on. But if suddenly one of our guys are guilty of it, we're just going to say, screw it. It has nothing to do with us, and ignore them. And that one moment to me was, and this was a pivotal moment, was when the governor of Virginia, remember this with the yearbook?
Oh,
And he's
yeah.
either blackface or a
The
KKK.
KKK. Yeah.
And it was like, of course this guy's going to have to resign. I mean, then the rules, right? This guy's gone. Everyone knew it. And it was the first time they're like, no, we're just not going to play by the rules. He's not going anywhere. And it was like at that moment, they realized they didn't need to play by their own rules.
Yeah.
No one would give a shit. So it's like Ted Cruz is suddenly a bad guy, and they can talk about him all day long because he goes to Cancun. But Andrew Cuomo can literally kill people, and no one talks about it. They don't care. He's like getting awards, So the standards are gone. If anyone thinks that, oh, no, we're playing by those rules, look at you, look at them. There are no rules.
Yeah.
No one's agreeing to a standard anymore. That's when cancel culture is basically, it's fascism. It's like these rules only apply to you. And when they apply to us, we ignore them. And we're just going to keep making new ones because it's not about the rule. It's just about destroying you.
Yeah, it is fascism. We've been talking about that a lot on the show because that is what it is. What we're moving into. The only difference, it's like the fascism of the 20th centuries. Government needed to use their power to coerce private sectors to do things and individuals to do things. Now, in like this new breed of American fascism, because they all have the same biases. And I don't mean that in terms of like a media bias. I'm talking about they have their own, they all suffer from, or they're all a target of a social bias. They're susceptible to it, very susceptible. Their brains break when you try to show them another worldview. They don't need to be forced with government power. They don't need to be coerced. They're all this just giant groupthink who they'll do it just because they all subscribe to that worldview. And I think it may be more dangerous. I think it may be a more dangerous breed because at least it is, right? It is. I mean, because at least,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, at least in the 20th century, Ben, it's like the government was the threat, and, government power, the police power was the threat. And if you could get rid of that, if you could overcome that, right, then it's gone. Then that threat to your liberty is gone. But now it's everywhere. It's embedded in all these little group thinkers running around, and they own companies, and they control entertainment industries, and they control media information channels, and they control universities, they control vote counting, it's everywhere. It's almost impossible to root out in the traditional way.
So I'll take issue with one element of what you just described, not in a big way, in a way that I think is going to be enlightening. So you said that they all want to do this and they're all in it together on this. I actually think they're just riding on the same train track rails. I don't even think they realize what they're doing, like a lot of this corporate advocacy nonsense. Like, to me, I remember, and tell me if you remember this, like growing up, we used to use this word tolerance, like, you got to be a tolerant human being, which basically is a dirty word today. But the idea behind it was, I tolerate your views, you tolerate my views, we get along in a world that's diverse. And as long as we're tolerant of each other, then we're good. But what's happened in the last 20 years is they moved from tolerance and they accelerated into 4 stages. And so the first one went from tolerance to acceptance. So now I don't have to just tolerate you, I need to accept you. Like that's a big jump. And then acceptance wasn't enough. Then it went to celebration. Like you have to go out there and celebrate people you may disagree with. And then the part that became dangerous, where cancel culture really kicked in, was this concept of active participation, which is where we are right now. If you're a company or you're a kid on Instagram and you're not actively participating in Black Lives Matter or in any of this stuff, or ratting out your neighbor for going out without a mask, if you're not part of it, then you're the problem. Silence is not violence. And so these corporations, in their mind, they think they're just piggybacking off of this movement to make money because culturally it's cool and cool sells. What they don't realize is that at some point they're on the chopping block next.
Yeah, right.
They're not an ally. They're they're an enemy to these people. The cancel culture. They're just riding on the same rails. And so what they're doing is, hey, we're going to do this to make a lot of cash. It's not money for them, but to the people driving this garbage, it's it really is about active participation. Like, if you don't participate, then you must believe in the opposite. And if you believe in the opposite, then we have to cancel you. And it's like Hollywood actors, the ones that don't comment on politics, are conservative.
Yep.
By merely not commenting, where they stand. And that's not good enough anymore. Like, you're getting actors who are getting canceled because they're not coming out in support of a lot of these crazy ideas. So that's the danger, I think. It's that all these groups are riding on the same rails, and at some point, these corporations, they're going to get screwed.
Yeah, and I think too, going back two or three steps, that participation element, it sounds dangerously similar to my neighbor is hiding a Jew in their basement. I mean, it sounds so. That's what they want. I mean, sometimes I think about it, and I know that you always have to be on guard for the threat. Any threat to your liberty. It can happen any time. America is the exception to the rule in human nature and human civilization. But sometimes it does hit me where I have to think to myself, are we really here? And the answer is we really are. I mean, there's a lot that's just right around that corner. And I got to tell you too, with the celebrity, and by the way, I'd agree with they're just on the same rails. I'd agree with that. I think you probably just put that better than what I was trying to say. But right, they're all just collectively riding the same train. And there are engineers that are conducting the train, and a lot of them have no idea what they're even doing on that train. They just think that they're supposed to be on it, I guess. But in any event, there's some people that we're trying to target to get involved and run to persuade, right? And some of these people are just terrified, and they're qualified. They just have very high name recognition, which I think is very important in some of these races. We need some high name. We need to get over that hurdle. And then, that name recognition for Donald Trump did wonders for him. It really did. And they're just terrified, man. I mean, if they're still in the middle of their career, they hope to still have any kind of a career, and they're not retired at all. Everybody's terrified. And that really is that's no good, because in the post-Trump world, the biggest danger for me, I was always thinking, the way they treated him, one of the biggest dangers was that these other people that could really offer something to the system, they could offer something to the process, to government, good government, they're not going to want to do it, because the man was like, they had these crooks crawling up every orifice in his body trying to find something with a magnifying glass, and if you're a normal person, you're thinking, why on earth would I subject myself to this?
What do you think of they're trying to ban him from being buried in Arlington Cemetery? And they're already writing his obituary, and in their sick fantasy, it's not at Arlington. Like, that's the ultimate FU. Like, we banned you from being buried in Arlington. It's amazing. He's in their head.
Yeah, and well, I'm kind of wondering how on earth they're going to move on from this man, right? So he's still going to, they can't. Laura said they can't. They can't do it. The truth
with the semi-nut.
The truth is, they never really wanted to let him go. They really didn't. They need him.
The value proposition we talked about was, it's three things, right? It's money, power, and not being wrong. So I actually like the fact that they're not moving on, because
me too.
That makes sense, right? So when CNN decided not to find a way of getting him elected, right? To me, that didn't make sense. Like, your entire business model is connected to Trump, and now you're trying to destroy him, which means you're basically killing yourself.
You're irrational.
That's
Yep.
very rational. But in a weird way, they're back to rational thinking. Like they're like, this Biden guy is boring. No one cares about him. Ted Cruz going to Cancun. We could make that a story for half a day. But at the end of the day, we got to keep going back to Trump. And in a weird, messed up world, I see like CNN and all these other channels like resurrecting Trump to icon status for 2024 if he wants it, because without him, they're dead.
Yeah.
Like if he announced tomorrow he's running again, that's all they would cover.
Yeah, they're Bannon's been talking about this too. I've been talking to a lot of people that they're like, when he went home, all indications, people were telling us, you know what, the president needs to rest. He's going to take care of the lawfare that is targeting him all over the place. He's going to handle that. He's going to try to rebuild his brand a little bit. He's not interested in running in 2024. The environment that they are creating is creating like a Grover Cleveland kind of situation.
It's the Lazarus.
It's a Lazarus effect.
Yeah.
That's yep. And they're doing it, man.
These people live in storytelling, right? Because let's face it, these people have no real experience. I mean, what are they? If they didn't have a pretty face, they wouldn't be on TV, right? And with Google, they have the ability to literally just go online for 5 minutes and educate themselves on any subject and pretend like they know what they're talking about.
They're experts.
Every time Anderson Cooper opens his mouth, I want to say, dude, you were on The Mole, right?
Right.
The host of a TV show called The Mole. You're a reality TV host. Like you're no different than Trump in that respect, other than the fact that you had no other experience. So to me, like they're into the business of storytelling, and the best story arc is the Lazarus story. It's like the resurrection. It's like in every allegory, you got to have that storyline.
That's right. That's right. That's why Barnes is big on the idea that we're really in like the Empire Strikes Back part of the trilogy, right? And it's use it because I'll tell you, it nails it. It really does. And I had been trying to figure out a way to put it for a while, and when we were doing What Are the Odds, he was like, man, we had New Hope. We were just in New Hope. This is the Empire Strikes Back. And that's dead on. They're pushing this. They're making this happen when the man wanted to just go. And for people who don't know who Grover Cleveland was, he was like the last of the Bourbon Democrats in the 19th century. And he told everybody, I got to come in, clean house, he basically ran on drain the swamp and sound economic policy. And then what they called progressives back then took him out on this thing called free silver. It sounded like a modern Bernie thing. He said that was going to crash the economy. Nobody listened. He lost. He was a one-termer. I think it was the 2 or 3 year mark, Ben, the whole damn country wanted Grover Cleveland back because they were like, we were so sorry. We should have kept you. And he didn't want to. They pushed him back in it. They did it. They made it. The events they set it in motion, made the Lazarus made the Lazarus story possible for Grover Cleveland. And then, by the way, he came back and served 2, didn't he? 2 after that, I think. So, I mean, at that point, like nobody even questioned it.
I almost look at it like the story arc is, here's a guy that was rough around the edges. His first go around, he was tweeting all the time. He was a little immature. And now we've got this opportunity where he comes back grown up and the statesman. It's not a hard story arc to create. It's super easy. And Trump is a showman. So he could play play that game. Let his hair grow gray. Come back as the statesman and become like the conscience that we like. Because look, let's face it, Biden is a doofus. This thing is not going anywhere. Like, no. What's this Pisaki? I call her Pisaki because I like the P. Jen Psaki, right?
Jen Psaki.
She's a moron, right? She's not good at her job. It's the one thing I love about the Dems is that whenever they get into power, they don't have to be that good because the media blows smoke. It's like, remember Michelle Obama? Like, they wouldn't talk about how she looked. They talk about her arms. When someone's telling you have nice arms, that's not a compliment.
That's what Laura
Look at
said.
those arms. It's great. So
That's
like
what.
Saki, like the girl, she's circling back every 5 seconds. She doesn't know how to answer a direct question. She's
No.
booming and eyeing. And they're saying, "Oh, she's amazing."
Yeah.
It's not going to last. These people are not good at their job. So I think there's definitely going to be a craving for something. And if Trump, if he decides not to do it, I think there's a solid backbench with DeSantis and Noam and a few others.
Yeah, that's like the number one question I've been getting lately. Well, if Trump doesn't run, who's it going to be? And you can tell they're terrified of him because so far, you have the Morning Consult Politico poll. I don't even know why they're still polling. I mean, if you do that bad, you should pull back and recalibrate what the hell you're doing. But you'll notice they added Rick Scott. They put Rick Scott in there and they put Marco Rubio in there, both from Florida, obviously. Not at all. They have no base buzz whatsoever. One already ran and failed to get the nomination.
So why didn't they include DeSantis?
Exactly. They're terrified of him.
They're terrified.
He takes the largest battleground state in the country. He takes right off the table, right from the jump. That is not going to happen.
Do you think Florida still is a battleground state? Like, what's your polling telling you on people moving down south to Florida from New York?
Yeah.
Are these conservatives moving down for politics, or are you getting a huge swath of like lefties?
Yeah, I would say that it is light red because it's not that Republicans can't screw it up. They could if they went down the Mitch McConnell, John Thune route. They would screw it up. There are these voters that are coming into South Florida from other countries. They're deeply conservative. And then you have this working class white Northeasterner that comes in. They're difficult, though. Those are the ones that made Pinellas so close this time, even though demographically you would think Pinellas County was going to go to Biden by at least 5 points or more. That's what everybody said. In the end, 500,000 votes separated by 300. So that's because of that working Tampa area, Northeastern white who moved to Florida. And I'm not sure Republicans can count on them to come out. Just because there's an R next to their name. I think that this party needs to change. If Trump wins this primary battle, then Florida is going to be a very heavy lift for Democrats ever again. I mean, it's just going to be very difficult. Gillum got about as close as you could get in a statewide executive race. He really did. But that was during an election cycle. First of all, there was about 70,000 new voters who weren't eligible, but we knew they were there and would be eligible in 2020. And that was just South Florida alone. Otherwise,
Cubans, a lot of
and Venezuelans and and Colombians too now are going to be a major problem for Democrats. We're looking at them now too. There's just all of these new groups coming in, and I don't think anybody can beat Ron DeSantis in that state. I don't think they have anybody.
It's almost like Trump did the country and these governors a favor
Yeah.
Because with the coronavirus, by giving them all this authority that they never knew they had, they've basically become power hungry.
Yeah.
So these states, whether it's red or blue, I have the feeling that they're not relinquishing any of this new authority that they're finding. And the average person who lives in a place like Florida, who never really thought the governor made a huge difference with the lockdowns, they're waking up to the reality that, you know, state governments and local government has a lot more influence and power than the federal government. So they're like, you know, Democrats are going to vote DeSantis too, because they don't want to give up the freedom that they have. You know, that's a real tangible thing. That's why California, as crazy as it sounds, people are like, you know, could California flip in the governor recall? It could happen. People are pissed.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. I think there's a very we just polled California a little bit ago. Again, there's a reason why Gavin Newsom is trying to strike these signatures, as many as he can, because if it's the right candidate, you know, again, I go back to that, but it's true. High name recognition, not politically, you know, not particularly political. It doesn't even need to be. You remember when Schwarzenegger took out Gray Davis? Do you remember that? I mean, nobody thought a Republican could win a statewide race back then. He has dropped so much among Hispanics that, and you know how important that voting group is in California. They remain, even as other Hispanics are moving to the right in different areas of the country, the California Hispanic remains very liberal. But something happened in 2020 in Southern California. You can see it. These working class Hispanics really did offset some of that loss with white voters, which is why Republicans were able to take back 3 seats, hold Garcia's district. That's not a white voter doing that. That is a working class, Hispanic voter. And there's also, Asians that are coming in that are more liberal. So it shows.
So who do you like for California? Who do you think can win in this?
I got to keep that close to the vest right now because I'm trying to shove somebody, and I don't want to put his name out. But
what do you think of?
But there's somebody I think can do it, man. I do.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you off air. Okay,
I'll give you mine on air, right? So
okay.
I think
I don't want to out him.
I'm gonna give you a crazy idea, right? What about what's the transgender guy, Jenner?
Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner.
Okay, so you got right-leaning conservative, transgender candidate, high name recognition, and it basically forces everyone who's on the left to say, "I'm not voting for somebody who's transgender," right? And the policies are going to be pro school choice. The policies are going to be fiscally conservative. I don't.
You're getting. I'll tell you this, Ben. You're out of the box with me on this one. It's like it's not that not that far, but it is out of the box because I think you can in California, demographically speaking, you can't play in the box. You got to get out of the construct that they built for you.
It's all name recognition.
Yep. You got to get out of it. You got to really think outside. And that is it's an angle like that we are working on. It's not that particular one, but it is something like that we would, Huntington Beach would still love. Right. But at the same time is not going to get creamed in Los Angeles County. And if we can even keep the vote down a little bit in Los Angeles, I'm not talking about voter suppression. I'm simply saying, it doesn't hurt to be a midterm, right? Or a recall or something. It depends on when they make that decision. But yeah, you can't play in the box. That's something the establishment isn't going to learn. So they have to be beaten because they're not going to get out of the way. You could have the best candidate and it makes sense to everybody, but they're still going to run their John Cox. Or their John Cox-like figure. They're not going to stop.
He's not going to cut it. He's not going to cut
it. Nope.
Maybe an Isaiah Washington or a guy like that.
Something like that. Absolutely.
Denzel. How about Denzel?
Something like that. Now you're on. Now you're speaking my language.
Denzel would be a home run.
Denzel
would win in a landslide.
In a landslide. And I think a lot of people don't realize that there are tons of like these big name conservative actors who have coherent political views and really can articulate them, and they just keep quiet. Yeah, because a lot of them aren't. Let's be real. A lot of the left-wing celebrities who talk about politics, they're not even coherent. They don't make sense to average people. They just blabber on in ignorance, and that they're not all like that. And there's California and in Georgia too, really outside the box. I mean, I'm one phone call away from the end of Brian Kemp, man. I'm telling you, one phone call away. All I need to do is nudge.
There? I mean, I've always had this idea that Mitch
hated Trump.
Had something. Yeah,
they hated him.
That goes without saying. But I kept saying to myself, like, the stars were aligned where they were going to lose the Senate, right? And why did Mitch McConnell allow himself to lose everything?
They got duped. They looked at that November margin, and this is just from my conversations with some of these idiots. They looked at that November margin, and they thought Perdue did better than Trump. And they actually thought that Trump weighed Perdue down in the Atlanta suburbs, and that without Trump on the ballot, Perdue would do even better there. And that they really didn't need the central and the southern region where the Trump voter came out. I told them you're going to miss 300,000 to 500,000 voters from that region. That's it. Plain and simple. There's a lot of counties in Georgia, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. It adds up quick when most of those little, they're not even that. Some of them aren't even that little. I mean, so when you're missing a couple of percent out of the electorate because they don't like you and they like Trump, that's 5,000 votes here. That's 20,000 votes there. And they just didn't see it. They really did believe that those people are just going to come out in sufficient numbers anyway because they hate Warnock, they hate socialism, they don't want Democrats to control the Senate. They didn't realize
They
the
don't get it.
anger. They don't get it.
They don't get what the vote. They don't get the Trump vote. They just
don't.
don't realize that the country's moved on from politics as usual.
That's
Like
right.
we literally are in a civil war environment from a political standpoint. There is nothing connecting one side of the fence and the
Yep.
other, and it's not a DNR. It transcends.
That's right.
It transcends. People always say you're a Republican. I'm like, I'm not a Republican. I don't give a crap about one policy or another policy. I want to start from the fundamentals. Like, do you care about the people in this country, or are you just out there to, hold on to power?
Yep.
So
I'm the same way. I look, I haven't, the only time I've ever registered for a party is because maybe I was in a closed primary state and wanted to vote in a primary. Like people always say, oh, there's a Republican pollster or a Republican pundit. I hate the Republican Party.
Yeah.
I can't stand them. I view them worse because at least, and I say this a lot, but it's true, at least Democrats largely represent their constituencies, Ben. Republicans do not at all.
Well, They do, but I'll tell you what's interesting with the Democrats is
the wrong constituency.
In retrospect, they were right on so many issues in the Mitt Romney campaign.
Yep.
With the idea that corporations were really influencing politics in a big way. They were right on that. The
Absolutely.
solutions were totally wrong. It's like you see it when AOC is talking about how like the whole GameStop thing, but then her solution is let's just tax the rich.
Yeah.
They're really good at identifying some issues that Republicans were not good at, but they're terrible at solutions.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. And they took, they took all the money from the straw men this time. That's what it hasn't really fully evolved yet, that story. And we show the graph a lot. In the Trump era, this kind of trend was under the surface anyway, but in the Trump era, it really exacerbated and developed. And that is that those problem people, the straw men that you always hear them bring up for the last 20, 30 years, they now are the ones who take all the money from those people. And in the Trump era, that group, the Wall Street crowd, the K Street, they largely abandoned a lot of Republicans, even in Congress. And they still hedge, but they overwhelmingly favor Democrats now, which is not a story that ever gets any play. And eventually people are going to catch on. I mean, that's not something you can hide forever, right?
Well, look who they're canceling for money. It's the people who are going to follow the Trump doctrine, which
that's right.
Basically hurts them financially. That it's all about money and power right now. Like these companies that are throwing all this money at politicians, they're not doing it for fun. It's all about the ability to influence politics to their financial reward.
Well, we're going to, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was saying, and people are waking up to that more and more, like watching the pharmaceutical industry. Something's going on like right now. Just is slightly off topic, but on topic, right? So you got Pfizer, Moderna, you got $1 trillion vaccine industry, basically, with this whole coronavirus thing. And for whatever reason, I can't put my finger on it, but the cases are dropping precipitously. I mean, worldwide, it's like down like 75%. And I don't trust the numbers, but when the whole world is dropping, something's going on. So it's very likely that this virus is on its way out, like it's run its cycle. But financially, that doesn't benefit the pharmaceutical industry. So like, I put myself in the shoes of like an executive at Pfizer, and I'm like, okay, I got all these vaccines. I need to vaccinate everybody, but I can't vaccinate them fast enough because the virus is dissipating faster than I could keep up. So what do I do, right? So I've got to use my leverage, financial leverage, and political influence to convince populations that no, they got to keep vaccinating people, and one vaccine can't be enough. Like this thing, it has to be like a continuous model. Like
multiple.
Every year you got to get it next year because there's a new variant, whatever. So they're going to spin this some way because it looks like this virus is on its way out. I mean, it's the dead of winter right now, and cases are plummeting. That shouldn't be
they're
happening.
falling. Yep.
Right. So it can't be seasonal, right? Because they should be going up in winter. And they're dropping everywhere. And they're not dropping a little bit. They're dropping like crazy. So they're trying to hold on to all this crazy, you know, control of populations through lockdowns, but now it's becoming irrational.
That's what I was going to say. That's why that lockdown strategy, the continuance of this lockdown strategy, is so important for them. Because if they don't keep that panic and they don't keep that in the discourse, then eventually people are
Well, there's no crisis.
there's no right. I mean, there's no crisis
crisis.
anymore. That's right. And
I-
crisis is the rally cry of the tyrant, man. You need that crisis.
There was a website I remember, like during the Iraq War, and you would turn on CNN in the news. This is like one of the first times I picked up on fake news, and every day they would just pump how many people were dying in Iraq.
Yeah,
They would
the
never give a
ticker.
number. So I'm like, let me go. There's a website that shows you number of people dying per day in Iraq, and I'm like, I want to know the number. Why can't I find it? And so I started tracking it every day, and it was like one person a day.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, okay, there's like 300,000 soldiers in Iraq and one person died today. Like, what's the statistics of one person out of 300,000 dying
Yeah.
on any given day, let alone in a war zone? And it was like
Right.
kind of along the lines of the natural progression of like mortality. But the news, they were never telling you the truth. They were just pumping this fear. Like, people are dying every day in Iraq. We got to get out of there. And
A roadside bomb went off today, and then always the
Right.
total. The total was the ticker, Ben. Always that
Right.
total, right?
the
And
total.
yeah, and it would see, and sometimes they'd swap it, not just Iraq, but like the war on terror. So
Well, they would
somebody,
use the word casualties, which included like
Yeah.
anyone that got injured, and
that's right.
but
That's
that was
exactly
it.
right.
It was like if you keep it front and center, and all you do is talk about it, it scares the shit out of people because it's all that's on their mind.
And they never let it right, and they hold on to it longer. Well, look, folks, we're gonna go to a break, but thank Ben for joining us. Ben, you still do your live stream, right?
I do. I'm doing it on.
Tell people
Telegram
where to
because,
find that.
I'm petrified to be on. You're bold and brave, and I'm trying to not get canceled. So I'm taking a big break from. I deleted Facebook like a month
I
ago.
don't blame you. Yeah,
I was getting like 20,000 views a day, and then I just said I gotta get rid of this because
with the views comes the bullseye, my friend.
yeah,
With the views comes the bullseye.
that's what happens. So I got a Telegram thing. Just look for me, Benjamin Nisanoff, on Telegram. You can subscribe, and I post here and there, and I do a video every once in a while. But I'm waiting for the right platform to come up so that I can really figure out what to do next. And check out The Plot Against the President.
Yeah,
If you haven't
absolutely.
seen it, it's on iTunes now. You could rent it on iTunes. I think we're leaving Amazon Prime, so you wanna jump on iTunes and rent it. It'll really open you up to everything you talk about, Rich, which is amazing, and how this whole thing works.
Oh, guys, check that out if you didn't already. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for joining us, man. It was a great
I'll
conversation.
talk to you later. Say hi to Laura. But hey, Laura.
Yeah, she said, hey, man.
I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
got
Talk
it.
to you soon. All the best.
You too. Bye-bye.
If you guys have not checked out The Plot Against the President, if you have Amazon Prime, I think that's where I got it.
iTunes.
And iTunes. Yep. I think I got it from I think I got it on Prime. But in any event, it's fantastic. So you definitely need to check it out. We're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we'll answer some questions. All right. And we'll talk a little bit more about what's in the news. I do want to hit up the economy a little bit before we get into Q&A. Existing home sales, they weren't horrible. The rate of increase was a little bit better than the forecast, but less than what we had been seeing. And you guys know how I feel about that housing market data, because that was under the Trump era. That housing, that final fourth cylinder, wasn't kicking off in the first 2-3 years. We had the crisis during before the Obama era, and Obama's economy never picked up. So housing really never came back like that. And in that final year before COVID, in the turn of 2020, that housing market index, which is for builder confidence in single family homes, shot to the moon. And that is a precursor to the new residential construction report. So we saw housing starts and building permits hit all-time highs, skyrocketing. And the pending home sales index, which was bad this month. The existing was all right, but the pending was bad. And we'll talk about that because, if the labor market stinks, it's showing bad signs. The declining trend in the insured unemployment rate is arrested. And claims are rising again. So if people don't have confidence in their employment situation, then they will not build and they will not borrow. And we're seeing that. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that. All right. So, all right, you're watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys are watching on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. That will let you know when we go live. And also smash that like button. It really does matter. All right. It really does. Or if you can't stand me, hit the dislike because it's a free country. At least it is for now. But we very much like more likes than dislikes. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, which I know some of you are, I can see still, even after the 2 false starts this morning, don't forget to hit that like button for People's Pundit Daily on Facebook. And that is actually very good on letting you know when we're going to go live. And then for everybody who's been given hearts, I keep neglecting Periscope, Laura. Like, Periscope is what threw us into a tizzy this morning. That's what did it. It was an issue with Periscope, which caused everything else to malfunction. And I tried it without it, but by the time it was too late. But for those of you watching on Periscope, that's why we're trying to make it work. All the hearts and stars and everything. We love you guys for it. But also sign up on Locals. It's on the ticker right now. All right. So we'll be back. I'm going to play, what will we do? Bad Habit for 2 minutes. Give me a 2-minute break. Come back, look at a little economic indicators, and then we will get to your Q&A. All right. All the best, folks. Hold on 2 minutes.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a knife, to give in to the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
And we're back to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am your very down-to-earth host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. All right. Laura wanted to add something. We were talking about Nikki Haley, and she was dying to jump in, and she told me during the break.
I didn't want to interrupt Ben.
All right. She said before last week that she reminds her of Hillary Clinton. She has something else now, though, because of the betrayal thing. We're talking about Dante, right? Check this. Bring this is good. Bring this on.
All right. Let me paint a picture because everybody's seen Braveheart, right? And if you haven't, you need to see Braveheart. So Nikki reminds me of Bruce because Wallace was kicking some serious butt, right?
Robert Bruce. You're talking about.
Yeah,
Robert the Bruce.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
And Wallace was kicking serious butt. And then if Robert would have joined him in that last one, the things that Scotland
They could have done
could
together.
have happened to Scotland would have been amazing.
Scotland would have been free from Edward
and
before.
then instead,
Yep.
he preemptively thought, you know what, let me side with England,
Yep.
betray Wallace, and when he thought he was really winning, he ended up subjugating his people in the long run.
Yep.
So, like Nikki Haley,
I'm sorry for the clicks over here.
That's fine. Like Nikki
I want
Haley,
to show them some polls.
she saw Trump going down in her eyes, so she trashed him, trying to get above that and choose the winning side. And in the end,
she grossly miscalculated.
She sure did. And then she blew her whole career with that one
statement. It's over. I mean, like we were talking about with Benjamin, she could run if she wants, but she's done. She's done. Any hope that she had, it's over. It's over because she can't position herself the way that she had been telling donors she wanted to position herself all this time.
Absolutely.
All of this time. So it's a wrap for her. And she should really just accept it because she's wasting everybody's time and money thinking that she can.
See, with me, no matter how much you do the backstroke, you can't come back from that.
No.
And she's going to have to cope with being dead in the water because she has that president bug.
Yeah.
The one that they feverishly want.
Bit Biden 40 years ago or 30 years ago. And it really goes, speaking of Biden, really goes to show you that, I mean, this man was elected, how the electorate has changed, where it was absolutely disqualifying. Joe Biden was disqualified as a legitimate presidential candidate. And this time around, what was, I believe, rightfully disqualifying. I don't care about crassness and bluster. I mean, this creation, this idea of a presidential, he doesn't act presidential. That is a modern creation of a stiff upper lip elitist political class. These presidents in the past, folks, were not presidential. Okay? Lyndon Johnson had a potty mouth. Richard Nixon was not polished. And you go back even further than that, some of our best presidents, even whether or not you agree with them or not, some of our more celebrated presidents, they were not presidential. Andrew Jackson almost beat his assassin to death with his own cane. All right? It's just crazy. And we were talking about Grover Cleveland before. That's about as presidential and Boy Scout like that you can get. These were not men that would have liked somebody like a Joe Biden. They just wouldn't. Then speaking of which, Joe Biden, here's some Rasmussen results. I wanted to show this because they sent it to me.
As you pull that up real quick.
Okay.
See, I don't know how to
you
see
can
this
talk.
person's name.
Yep.
But we have an ancestor of William Wallace in our feed.
Get out of here. That is super cool.
My uncle traced our ancestry and sent in his DNA. Found out William Wallace is our very distant uncle.
Freedom! Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Every man dies. Not every man truly lives. Amen, William. And if you study the historical figure, he's incredible.
Yes.
I mean, there are just some men and women, I'll give, Joan of Arc's fantastic.
Joan of Arc.
I'm just saying, with the way civilization has been.
Well, women weren't really allowed to.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's why Joan of Arc pretended she was like Joey of Arc,
Mm-hmm. True story.
But in any event, if for those of you who can't read this, I'll read it out loud. But he was just an incredible figure of history. How much influence does the left wing of the Democratic Party have on President Biden? Too much, 49%. Not enough, 13%. About the right amount, 30%. That 8% unsure, I can tell you right now, is a bunch of too much. That doesn't say it because of social biases in polling that we cannot get rid of anymore. And then you have the uninformed, probably about 4% of the poll, 5%. All right. How much influence does big business have on President Biden? Too much, 49%. It's almost identical. The only difference is not sure is 10%. Well, look, for the 10% who said not sure, I'll just tell you right now that the gap between Wall Street donations from Joe Biden, and Wall Street donations to Donald Trump is overwhelming and the largest ever in the history of these United States. 6-1. We thought Hillary Clinton was significant. Her advantage was 3-1. So Joe Biden, and Laura hates when I use the phrase, so I won't use it, but Joe Biden has always been the call girl for K Street. That's K Street's call girl, real quick. Okay. I mean, he just has always been. You can't reshape history, folks. You can't rewrite it, retell it into something it's not. Joe Biden has been a sucker puppet forever. Credit card companies, just about any company, any industry that you have heard about in the last 3 decades that royally screwed over the American consumer, Joe Biden has been there. Okay, that's who he is. All right, so how much influence does he have? Too much, 49%. Agree or disagree? Joe Biden is not the moderate, nice guy that they made him out to be. He's a puppet of the radical left. Agree? 54%. 40 disagree. Listen, I told you guys this guy's a 48% president. End of story, period. He has never gotten above 52% in national polling. That's us. I know I see others. You have to know how to deal with response bias, and you have to know how to deal with social desirability biases. You have to learn how to identify them. You have to know what it means for your data that you have collected, and you have to know who is not being represented in your surveys. They are unable to do that. The guys at Rasmussen and I talk frequently, back and forth, constantly about different things that we do to try to give more accurate results. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is, this guy was never going to hit 60%. This is a fantasy. A fantasy. He is not Barack Obama, the young, articulate, first black president. No drama Obama. Actually rather likable. His approval rating fueled by being likable, even though everybody hated his policies.
You're telling me you don't want to have a beer with Biden?
Do you really believe this stupid old senile white man is more popular than Barack Obama? Come on, man. Put the bong down. Come on, man. Come on, man. I mean, you really delude yourself. This guy is more popular than Barack Obama?
Right. And
The hell out of here.
Llama.
Get the hell out of here. I cannot help you if you believe that.
Listen, I don't like Bo at all on policy whatsoever. But
he's a likable guy.
Just to hang out. He's funny.
He's cool.
He's
cool.
Cat.
Yep. He's cool. This guy is a joke. And apparently, we're not the only ones to find that people know that. I also want to circle back a couple of days here because we didn't get a chance to put this one up, okay? How much do you trust information from public officials about the number of cases and the number of deaths from COVID-19 pandemic? A lot, 27%. Somewhat, 29%. Okay? And then not very is 22. Not at all is 21. All right? And should Congress investigate whether officials are reporting accurate information about COVID-19 cases? 65% yes. They're too busy trying to impeach a civilian from the presidency. A civilian, by the way, who was right about Andrew Cuomo all along. I have to tell you, though, I don't know why the Peter Navarros of the world, why didn't they tell the American people certain things up front? I don't know the story about, I know the story about what happened with him and Cuomo. The guy was Cuomo is a dirtbag, all right? And I have to let you guys all in on a little secret. That story about, it got threatened. Cuomo said he'd destroy me. Even Bill de Blasio said that is a very common story with Andrew Cuomo. The guy comes from the old school. If you're not from New York City like we are, all right? You're not from the state of New York like we originally were. And you don't know. This guy's family's been around for a long time. His daddy was the same way. These are very ruthless, gutter politics people. They have no principles. They have no foundation. They have one thing, power, and they will use that power to wreck you if you get in their way. I don't like Bill de Blasio. The guy's a complete incompetence and he's destroying my beloved city forever. But he is telling the truth about this guy being this scumbag that everybody didn't realize he was. CNN, unbelievably, they are the most derelict news organization on the planet. Too busy running nightly, daily, night primetime episodes of the freaking Cuomo show with that stupid chode, his brother, Chris, and him, laughing it up while, grandma and grandpa are being sent to the freaking, they might as, what is the difference? Somebody please tell me. No. What is the difference? Somebody tell me. What is the difference between the government sending infected patients to go kill other elderly people? What is the difference between that and essentially sending them to a gulag or a camp or a chamber or whatever? Mm-hmm. You obviously know what the result is going to be.
Death by government.
It's death by government. RJ Rob, death by government. Seminal work, folks. Better be on the shelf. It's very important. That and right next to it should be Robert Hicks' Crisis on Leviathan, because once you read those two and put them together, it all becomes very clear.
Crystal clear.
Okay. I mean, there is no difference. The only difference between like what Hitler did is that he did it based on race and Cuomo.
Eye color.
Yeah. I mean, but that is, folks, let's play the what if game. What if Donald J. Trump signed a federal executive order mandating to governors that they must send infected patients to nursing homes, and it resulted in the deaths of thousands in each state? And what do you think they would do to Donald Trump? What do you think they would do to him? He would be facing
mourn the law.
And then you're not even allowed to bury your loved ones, right? Mm-hmm. He would be facing criminal punishment. He's already, they're already looking for the dumbest stuff possible to go after him on. He's the victim of lawfare every day. Imagine if that was Donald Trump. Play the imagine if game with yourself and be honest about it. Be honest.
What was the other one? Crisis on Leviathan and the...
A death by government, R.J. Rommel.
Yeah.
Yep. By the way, which he concludes that government is the most murderous entity in the world in the 20th century.
It's true.
Of course it is. And it's not just war he's talking about, but of course, it depends on what estimate you're looking at. Sometimes he includes war, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he just, and by the way, leftism, stateism in many forms, whether it's socialism in some form or another. By the way, Nazism is socialism. Okay. So don't give we only associate it with the right in this country because we needed Stalin for World War II. And we didn't want Uncle Joe, who we called Uncle Joe, a mass freaking murderer. We didn't want Uncle Joe to be on the same side of the ideological spectrum. So we framed it as right wing. Anyway, whether it's socialism, whether it's communism, and he concludes, because really Mao is the king. Stalin's a monster, of course. Stalin and Mao make Hitler look like a minor offender. We only hold Hitler in such hold regard because he did it based on racial and ethnic cleansing. But in truth, there were other ethnic cleanses. And I don't know. No. I'm pointing back there. I'm trying to get your attention. But yeah, Mao, is the king. He was the king. He was the king. And he, basically, it's not his conclusion, it's the data. Rommel rightly notes that Marxism was the most dangerous brand of it, but it by no means was the only dangerous one. It is leftism in general. Pol Pot, a lot of, just go down the damn line. These are mass murderers, mass murderers. And there's nothing that can test with it. Nothing.
But also the theme of them all were the people were unarmed. They were
a lot of times, absolutely.
Look, the resistance was
Mao's
taken away.
The cultural, absolutely. The Cultural Revolution in China looks a lot like if you could have a culture like Mao's cultural revolution now in the era of like big tech and big media, right? I shudder often, daily, to think what it would look like. And it would look a lot like what we're starting to see right now. And the cultural revolution's got a pretty name, but what it really meant was stamp out by all means necessary anyone who doesn't agree with Mao. That's what it really meant. I mean, so I think of it now and it's like, well, what if Twitter, right, was around back then? What if Facebook? What if YouTube? I mean, first comes the political suppression. That always comes first of speech, just regular speech. And then you will be dealt with by force. All right. So I did want to bring up, and we did, I basically go, if you guys have some time, go to People's Pundit Daily, check out the jobless claims numbers. Not good, folks. Not good.
Are you surprised?
And then the housing data will be up a little later today. I told you it would start cranking up again. And once we work out the kinks on this thing,
flipping thing.
I said freaking. I muddled it. Once we do, then you'll see the difference in People's Pundit Daily. Because right now, and yesterday, what happened is we lost our live server to stream to our own destination. So I guess we're going to have to build one on the People's Pundit Daily server from scratch now, because I'm sure it was very honest. That Brit just now decided to take it away.
Conveniently, at this point in time.
Very honest. But that's why yesterday, that was the plan. The plan was to take it, put it to our destination, not on YouTube, not on Twitter, not on Periscope Twitter, not on Facebook, to go to what you guys have seen in the past, live streams, live broadcasts on People's Pundit Daily. We have our own player. I'm going to have to build this puppy from an RTMP from scratch on our server because they just murdered it without explanation. So no notification, no email, nothing, just gone.
Nada.
Two days ago, it was there. I say we're doing this and moving to this, and it's gone, as if like some bot told them. Right? Unbelievable. But you know what? That's fine. Because I'm sick of the low latency of everybody's products, or the high. Actually, I'm sorry, it's garbage. I want star quality. I want you to be able to see every zit on my face. I am so sick of the blurry garbage product that comes out of this. If you're going to do it right at least.
You got to count the pivots.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, what is it? 107?
We got
Holy
questions.
moly. Let's get to some questions. Do you have some setting on there where I can't put you on the screen? This picture, look. So there you are. See what I'm saying?
So include me.
I did. You are.
Did you do side by side?
You're muted, but that's fine. You're right there.
You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. Oh, it says that. I'm in there.
But you're not. That's my point. I'm telling you, you're not there. You don't love me. So we're gonna comment automatic share, camera, show advance. Yeah, I can't get you on there. This has been like this for weeks. Ever since they went
and updated your computer.
No, StreamYard partnered with somebody else now.
Momos, yeah.
And by the way, I have no way to prove this.
That was close to that.
I have no way to prove this, but it does look like all the people who are having problems are on StreamYard. Like there's a lot of people that started on StreamYard, and I just happen to notice that it's like YouTube keeps they are on StreamYard. They're not running through Wirecast or like an OBS or something like that. Don't you find that a little strange? And that it's happened since StreamYard partnered with this new. It's just speculation. But I have noticed. I can't help but to notice. Seems to be a bit of a pattern.
I know you guys are not going to see me. It's just my voice.
I got some gear coming from her. She doesn't know it yet, but she is going to be on here, pop on here and there. On the new thing, we have these great side-by-side shots that we're going to be switching to on this beautiful thing, right? And she sends it to me, and she's like, here's the picture to put in there. And I'm like, Because I didn't upload it. She's gonna go on it
I'm
whether she
gonna
likes
kill
it or not.
him.
She's camera shy, and that's all
I
right.
hate
But
cameras.
that's all
I
right.
blush. I turn red.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't mind radio,
No.
but and
my
here
voice all day. I could talk to everybody all the time, no problem. But not when it comes to.
But in any event, yeah, I don't know what that is. But yeah, I wanted to put this up to show everybody Wall Street donations by Congress, because I said that before. I made a reference to it. All right. So while we look at this polling, give me some questions.
Oh, I got questions.
Q&A time. Hold on,
Lana-
everyone's favorite time. Q&A time.
Let's get her done. All right. So lamp, right?
Hit me, Crow.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, come on now.
I'm going to leave my question early since I have to kick rocks in a few minutes. What is the most concise way to respond to GOP's people who say we need to win back the suburbs?
Okay. That's a great question. Very detailed, though, but I'll try to be quick because I know you have to go. 10 is greater than 2 is the answer to that question. In Georgia, perfect example. You could not sacrifice the rest of that coalition, which is equal to, let's say, proportionate. And let's actually even bust it down to its greater denominations. For every one that you have a chance to win back in the suburbs, you will lose 5 out in the rest of the country. Okay? And there, you just can't afford it. So maybe David Perdue got 20,000 more votes, all right, from the suburbs, but he lost 100,000 from Central Georgia. All right, maybe he got 20 more thousand from the northern part of the Republican stronghold, but he lost 100,000 in Central Georgia, or Central Southern, excuse me, the coastline. Right? It's not enough. And some of these voters that you do have the possibility of winning back, some of them, and I'll put this back up in a second, but let me remove it while I'm talking. Some of them are going to swing back with the natural pendulum of politics. But the truth is, the suburbs don't look the way they did years ago. There's more going on than the media storytelling, which is that no, Republicans have lost the Mitt Romney suburban voter over the years. No, the suburbs that Mitt Romney won don't look the same as they did back in 2012. And we know this from the census data, which I've put up and we've talked about before. The people who have come here over the last 10 years or so are, and even when Mitt Romney was running, but they weren't eligible to vote yet. Now, when we looked at the naturalized numbers, the percentage with advanced degrees that are also minorities with advanced degrees, the worst Republican voting bloc ever, they are now exceeding natural born working and natural born educated in these areas but there's still a small number compared to the rest of the population. So your future is not a slow growing professional class. Your future is a diverse, racially diverse, growing working class. Because who is growing in this country, folks? Who is growing? The working class Hispanic is the fastest growing demographic in this country. So it makes zero sense to sacrifice them after all of these gains have been made for the possibility that you may win back a soccer mom, which you probably won't win back. Georgia 7 is not coming back, so do not give up on West Texas just to try to win Georgia 7. That's retarded. I'm sorry. That's politically retarded. And I don't mean that in any, by the way, we have, a handicap. Yeah, Laura's got an autistic blood. I mean it by the Merriam-Webster definition. That is politically retarded. 5 is greater than 2.
But I just got to say this. That soccer mom probably secretly voting for a Trump.
I know, and that's in the other thing. Do we have to go back to the social desirability indicators from the election 2020 public polling project? The truth of the matter is, Trump polled worse among these suburban women that we all kept hearing about than he actually did. He did not do as bad as the polling suggested he would. And every state we went in, with the exception of Wisconsin, because Wisconsin didn't seem, and Ohio, because Ohio's very much like that, where they don't really care. They're going to tell you. They don't care. Blow off. I live in Kenosha County. You haven't seen the riots I've seen. I'm voting for Donald Trump, right? I'm in Iowa. I live in Trumbull County. Kiss my butt. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I don't care what you think about me, right? Same thing very much like the conservative Southern Florida Hispanic. Yeah, Castro off. I'm voting for Donald Trump. All right. So basically, there were some groups that didn't, but in the states where there were strong social desirability biases, Michigan was a big one. You guys remember? I mean, that was in the press release. Look at who is the number one social bias voter. A suburban white woman. A suburban white woman and an African-American man. A working class, younger, urban African-American man. All right. By the way, flew under our radar that he was even going to double his share with women. Completely flew under black women. All right. And, then these exit polls, everyone's talking about national exit polls. And this is an electoral college race.
Right.
Nobody gives a damn. So 5 is greater than 2, Grow. 5 is greater than 2.
All right. Rich, GWP has an article on the 18th that Morning Consult is polling Trump's approval rating at 59%. Are their results reliable, accurate?
And I didn't see that, but I think that's probably in response to some of the criticisms they've been getting from people like myself and others. It isn't uncommon for presidents who have been either even voted out to see an increase in their favorability. However, Morning Consult is polling, 20. I don't know how they could have that and at the same time claim that 20% of Republicans support Joe Biden. So take it with a grain of salt because it doesn't seem to make much sense. And during impeachment, 20% wanted Donald Trump to be convicted, 20% of his own party. That is nonsense. The percentage of Republicans who do not like Donald Trump, do not support him, is around 8%. That's it. Just like we saw in the election. In some areas, it was a little bit higher, and we'd notice if it was in like the low 11, 12, 30, what we would notice is, oh, damn, geographically, men are not represented enough in this area or whatever, or, 30,000 to 50,000 aren't represented. Or, yeah, I mean, right. If you poll an area that you damn well know is 35% evangelical, but your sample is 19% evangelical, you did something wrong. We have so many data attributes that other pollsters do not use. And I'm not saying we wait for them. We don't. It just tells us whether we accurately represented that area, that group, the people in that area. And they're red flags to us. So then we set a quota, we set a target, we have quotas for each target, and we make sure we meet them. Folks, when you do, all of a sudden, everything looks miraculously reflective. Okay, 35% in Wisconsin is evangelical. 31, 35, roughly in that area. If you look in all the other polls, they're not. And even when they do, they may be far overrepresented in one area of the state, and that's not who truly looks like an evangelical in the state of Wisconsin. That's how you get a Biden plus 17. And in
that is why Rich Barris is the most accurate pollster in the United States.
Oh, she's great. She's great. But Morning Consult was Biden plus 7. He won by less than 20,000 votes. Biden plus 7. Michigan was Biden plus 9. 9 in that poll. And then they release these big samples and tell you that their margin of error, which is a sampling error, by the way, and even worse for them, it's a confidence interval because of how you conduct your poll, guys. All right, so you're not even doing that correctly. But then they'll it was 2,000 responses. It's plus or minus 2.4. Really? Well, then how did you miss by 9 points? Right. I digress. But yeah, it's not uncommon to see other presidents like it's called voter remorse. And we do see some of that in Rasmussen's collection over the last couple of days. There does appear to be. And we had the same thing, Laura. You can't drop 4 points in a week and then, go under a majority. And then with certain groups, what was he? He was above water among unions by low single digits. And then he fell underwater double digits. That was all right. Next question.
Thank you.
She knows how to get my attention. to wrap up. Moving on.
Man. I also, Dee Dee's, I'm gonna say Zhao, has a question about possibility that if Trump starts a third party, would Democrats also start a third party like the Bernie wing? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Let's show this. That's a great question. And the truth is, it is possible, even though all the talk right now is on the right with the third party. And the reason why is, as you can clearly see from Gallup's 20-year tracking chart here, all right, there has always been this, and here, let me remove that, guys, so you can see it. There has always been, over 2 decades, this appetite on the left to have a third party, which is why you see Democrats lose a lot of vote. It'll fracture to the Green. It'll fracture to the Libertarian. It's why they tried like hell and succeeded to keep third-party candidates off the ballot in 2020. All right, talk about voter suppression. Talk about democracy. Don't give me that crap from a bunch of people who keep people off ballot. They work their hardest to challenge signatures when it comes to getting somebody on a ballot in a state, right? But any signatures just fly right through into the machine, right? Such a load of crap. Anyway, you can see that there generally has been a bigger appetite for a third party on the left. Notably, we see that change a couple of periods throughout history. One being after George W. Bush destroyed the Republican Party, or the Bush wing destroyed it and left it anemic and worthless, all right, and not even a national political force anymore. And then the Tea Party arose, and you can see that they had tension with the establishment. They didn't feel like they belonged, and a lot of Republicans, almost half at that point, did want another party. And then generally, though, Democrats bobbed in and out. When Trump came along, we saw 51-43 favor of Republicans wanting a third party, independents even ticking higher. That should have been an indication to people that independents were going to swing to the outsider. That should have been one of many indications. And by the way, the swing to Biden this time was not a real swing among independents. Many of the independents who voted for Donald Trump in 2016, supported Donald Trump in 2016, were now simply Republicans. The Republican was more electorate. The electorate, I just flip-flop that. The electorate was more Republican in 2020, especially in the battleground states, than it was in 2016. Okay. And then you now can clearly see that skyrocket, but you still have that 46% in the Democratic Party. Joe Biden did something the other day. This is why I told you guys that this was always never going to work. His administration, his government, this coalition was never going to work because he said yesterday or 2 days ago, he refuses to forgive student loans up to a certain amount. They have a bill, all right, that they want to pass that will forgive. I think it's not even that much. It's up to like 20 or 30,000. It's not like some 6-figure forgiveness, but that is a huge deal for people. But Joe Biden said he would not sign that bill, and AOC is flipping out. This was never going to hold together. All right. All Republicans really have to do to crush Democrats in the short term coming up is clean their own house, because you can't make the argument against them if you're not honest to your own argument. Right. So like Mitch McConnell cannot make the case against Joe Biden, right, on China. He's married to a woman who has business ties in China. I mean, this is a joke, right? And let AOC and the rest of that wing carve out more of that 46%. Let that 46% go to 55% again. And you will see problems. And you will see Democrats fight like hell again to keep Howie Hawkins and the Jill Steins off the ballot, because they know they don't want to be nadered. They don't want to be nadered.
Do you think Trump's lack of real defense of the steal at his impeachment caused him to lose any support with his base?
No, we know that he didn't, but it caused them to question. Yeah, actually, I mean, he really did. We saw a shoring up there, actually. But it caused them to question why on earth they had the strategy they did. They were appealing to the institutional Republican senator. And I personally would have put the whole thing on trial. That's what I would have done. I would have put the whole damn thing on trial. And I think in the long term that would have better helped his legacy. But he won. He won. I think, though, if you would have went with the strategy like Robert and I were talking about, you would not have lost 10 Republicans in the House. You would not have lost, Bill Cassidy in the Senate because he's a coward, and he would have been forced to go home and tell people in Louisiana that he supports unfair and unclean elections. Like, I mean, that's what he would, right? I mean, I would have taken the records that we have shared, and I would have went to the Senate floor with them and started reading off the names like I have done on this show before. But again, it's a W for him, but it definitely did cause some people to say, you know what? Why didn't you do this, Trump? Why didn't you do that?
M. Hollow wants to know who can primary Thune.
So that's to be determined.
Okay.
That's to be determined. Some of you guys are just gonna have to be patient on some of these questions because that's being decided. And what the last thing you'll want is for, Team Trump to pick somebody and then have other people who are trying to clean house, like us, pick someone else. I would, before I say anything, I'd rather get on the page. There's only a few places where there's like somebody settled, like, well, this is the best person for the job. Right now, we're in the middle of that process.
Yep. All right. Rambo Gamble, thoughts on Vernon Jones versus Warnock. Vernon spoke well at the recent rallies, and he's a crossover candidate from Democrat to MAGA.
Rockstar, because I have somebody else in mind for governor, and it's a real possibility. It is a very real, apparently more real than I thought it was, or I was always hopeful, but I didn't think it expressed that kind of interest. And I'll hope to be able to share that with you soon, but I don't want Vernon Jones to run for it and then get it. Like, Vernon was a legislator, and it would be much more natural fit for him to run. Yeah, of course. It would be perfect. And, for obvious reasons. I mean, they come from the same party. They both the same ethnicity. They have a lot of the same support areas around the state. He would be I think he would be, I think the other guy can pretty much win either one. But then you would, let's say he ran for the Senate. Then you would have to find somebody who would run for the governorship that's an equal fit. It's a better fit for Vernon Jones to run against Warnock in the Senate. It really is.
It works out great.
And I'm telling you, one phone call away from destroying Brian Kemp's career. One phone call. It will be an embarrassing defeat of epic proportions. That's who I have, and that's the kind of candidate I have in mind. And if this happens, you're gonna laugh so hard on election night, okay? Because it'll be over it'll be callable in like 15 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, boy. All right, Jason Strulowitz. Sorry if I butchered your last name. What's Biden's actual approval rating poll numbers?
48% a couple weeks ago. When I went on Bannon, the last time I went on Bannon, and Matt Gaetz was there. So it was the second to last time I was on War Room. That was the day we were getting ready to wrap it up. It never really changed. It was 48% the last time we polled it. And that was down 4 points. We saw a big drop, by the way, among some really key groups: Hispanics, union households, working men. And that was where that decline was coming from. So, and by the way, had we polled another day or two, I strongly suspect we would have saw it continue to drop more. We're not a unified country. The idea that some non-transcendent figure could put together a 60% approval coalition is a fantasy. He's a 48% no political capital having. They need you to think he has political capital. They need you to think that, because have you seen some of the stuff they're doing? He's rolling back sanctions on Iran. He wants to put us right back in the climate accord. They want to put millions, actually, when all said and done, millions of illegals. They want to take back the refugees that Donald Trump deported because of security concerns. They want to bring them back and stick them in red states, by the way. Okay. Imagine if we did that. Could you imagine?
Oh.
Could you imagine if we took Northern Europeans, only Catholics and Protestants, and stuffed them in like New Mexico or something,
They
right?
would have a
Could you
coronary.
believe? Oh my God. They would flip their, you know what? All we do is import like Mormons from like third world countries, right? Like the Korean evangelical or something, right? Deeply conservative. If we did that from all these places and stuffed them into their
Yeah.
solidly blue, what they rely on to be electoral
Mhm.
college votes, he is trying. Well, not he, because he's a babbling idiot. The people that surround him have some seriously big plans, and they don't just want to roll back Trump's agenda. They want to permanently change this dynamic, the dichotomy, really. They
Mhm.
want to permanently change it. And they need you to think that he has political capital that he doesn't have. They need you to think that 6 in 10 Americans support what he's doing. That is a load of horse garbage.
All right, ready? Okay.
Ready, Fred.
Ready? All right. What do you think about the villainization of Cuomo? Is CNN just taking Kamala's bait?
Yeah. So Cuomo's got to be they need a head. They need a scalp. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
They need a scalp because
He was
this happened. This stuff happened. And the worst part about it is they're pretending like this is new material or something. Joe Biden sets goals that Donald Trump already hit when he came in. He goes to the microphone and tells America there's not much he can do about COVID. I mean, this is what he was elected for, remember? All right, so somebody's got to go. And the people who were loyal to Biden but not loyal to Kamala because Biden's going to be gone soon, they have to go too because Kamala needs her allies. All right, so they need scalps to keep the administration clean because, listen, if Biden goes down the wrong way for some inept, then Harris goes down too. If the Biden administration is soiled and salt, right, Harris is gone with it. So they need to get Biden out nicely and orderly, but take out his allies. Because when it's time to remove Biden and it's time to put Kamala in there so she can run in 2024, they will absolutely need allies to do it. And they're not going to want pushback from these governors, many of whom will control big states that they need for electoral college votes, right? The New Yorks, the Californias. They'll leave the Whitmers in place flailing unless they have to take her out. They'll leave the other one, Ayers in Wisconsin, unless they have to take him out because they count on them to conduct the elections the way that they conducted them this time, which was not correctly. All right. So they'll hold that over their heads. So that was a good question. Yeah. And but what bothers me, just to wrap it up, is that they pretend like this is all new information or something. This is nonsense. The AP had this story for months before the election. They had a team of investigative reporters on it. It was like 2 or 3 people on it. And they knew all about it. CNN knew all about it. They all knew all about it. They're only doing it now. And by the way, the Lincoln Project. Had Donald Trump won re-election, the Lincoln Project would not be destroyed right now. They would not be a disgraced Lincoln Project. I mean, they only are gone because you were used, idiots. Steve, Rick, the lot of you. You were used. You thought you were going to be part of the protective class? That goes to show how stupid you are and why Republican voters rejected your idiot picks for Congress, for gubernatorial elections, for president. You're suckers. You're dumb suckers. And now look at you. Don't worry, John. It's entirely possible you'll have plenty of people to fondle soon.
Oh, Lord.
He's a scumbag.
Yes. No, but you went.
Well, he's under investigation. Yeah, I went there. He's under investigation.
Emma Hollis.
I hope he rots.
Oh, yes, of course. There's a special
Grooming little boys, yeah.
Yeah. No special place for hell for those people. M. Hollis, she wants to know, does Trump still think McCarthy is on his side?
Not really.
Okay, good.
Not really.
Owen Jones wants to know, I figure infinite quantitative easing is really the sign that should be worrying everyone
Yeah.
and it is scaring me.
Yeah, me too.
20% inflation would be bad enough, but endless QE means eventual hyperinflation.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when we have conflicts that we have to fund. That's another thing. And I worried about this under Trump, by the way, too. I mean, I wish Trump did more to tackle the fundamentals of our financial situation. I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to get the rate of growth, the economic growth, higher, so it didn't really matter how much, we spent. But I really would have liked to see him, all presidents tango with the Federal Reserve. He was particularly rough with them. I would have liked to see him take Jerome Powell more on QEs. I really would, because it's like you knew it. The minute he was gone, they would ramp it up to fund this, and they'll need it soon because Joe Biden, guys, the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, our presence there. There are more troops from other countries being sent to Iraq as we speak, and Joe Biden is promising more activity himself. And then Afghanistan, Donald Trump had the exit strategy. I believe it was May or March.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. He's reversing that. So not only will there not be a drawdown of forces in Afghanistan, the word is there'll be an increase, anywhere between 4,000 and 12,000 increase, additional. It'll never end. Sent detachments over the Iraqi border into Syria. Nobody's even reporting that. All of a sudden now, we don't have national security correspondents. Where's the war correspondent? Where's your helmet? Your flak vest? Where are these guys? Where's the Geraldos drawn in the sand? Geraldos is at Reels now, talking about showing Puffy Combs and how the murder of his daddy shaped him. I mean, this is crazy. You don't want to go back to the sand, Geraldo? Joe Biden's president? You want to be in the sand anymore? Drawing pictures so you can give away our position?
That's what I was about
Holy
to say.
crap. I wish more people knew about that. I'm sure some people do.
They kicked
Holy
him off that
moly.
team quick.
God.
They had to change their whole strategy.
So here's the Operation Detachment Alpha. We're coming up around the Taliban position here, right here. Let me get a map for it. The B team's going to come in from the west. Oh my God. With supportive fire. Thanks, Geraldo. Just tell the freaking world.
They should have put an X on his back.
Another one, by the way, Geraldo. You're another one in Dante's book at the end. You're another one. There's a special place for people like you. Special place for people like you. Nice and it's cold there forever. Cold.
All right. Joel wants to know, Rich, we anticipate Trump will test his primary political might in 2022. Shouldn't we wait for those results to come in before calling Nikki Haley completely dead politically?
No, because she knows it. As it turns out, the Trump loyal faction is much bigger than I thought. So I always thought maybe Trump had and I didn't really think it. I just, a third to 40%. As it turns out, it's overwhelming. And the Republican Party that is represented by the Nikki Haleys, they only have 10, 15, maybe 20 million tops nationally. It's small. It's very, very, very small. And then really that shouldn't surprise me as much as it did, because there's a reason why Donald Trump won the primary in 2016 or 2015, right? And then there's a reason why he won the primary. Yes, he didn't win it with a majority, but over those 4 years, something happened. Two things happened. One, more of those Republicans became Trump loyalists that he didn't win over immediately. He governed as a conservative and won over the Ben Shapiro conservatives, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is he grew that party a lot by more than 10 million. And those are all Trump. They are all Donald Trump. And they wouldn't even vote for a Nikki Haley. So you already hear John Thune whine in the way you are, because he's setting himself up for loss. He knows they're going to get their ranks cleaned as long as this is done coherently and competently. They're in deep trouble. They know they have a ton of people that are not going to be serving with them again. And John Thune himself has to go. So he's scared, and he is, I mean, these people get scared, and he is making these comments to, what's the word I'm looking for, Laura? Justify what he suspects is his upcoming loss.
He's giving a
preview, like a justification, or right, I guess, for a little, and then so later he can say, "This, I told you, this is what he was doing. I told you he beat me. It's unfair." They're using words like unfair. That in the end, these people are just like Democrats, their colleagues across the aisle. They need a handicap. They don't want to fight on a level playing field, ever. Let's get some more in, because I know we're going to lose time here.
What do you think of Pelosi's pick of general for the commission?
Absolute scumbag. This guy is the biggest dirtbag she could have possibly have tried to pick. And by the way, I don't even think he's going to make it. I don't, because people did find some of his Twitter posts. I told you they did. And apparently yesterday, some of those Twitter posts were making the rounds. This guy is not like sound. Just because they're the brass and, they're in charge, don't ever for a second make the mistake of thinking that means these people are like sound, solid characters. They're not. This guy is not he has made public statements no lieutenant general should ever make. Ever. You don't make, you can have strong opinions. Patton had strong opinions, right? I would never compare that chode to General Patton, but you don't make personal political digs on people, or you don't make personal insults on people that you politically disagree with in a partisan fashion. Like, if you look at some of his tweets, it's the worst of everything. It's like an attorney general trashing their assistant district attorneys or something. You know what I mean? Like, because in the end, you're just supposed to be a public servant who serves. You are military, and you are beholden to the civilian government. You are not above the civilian government. Our founders wanted it that way for a reason. And he seems to be confused on what his role is as a lieutenant general in this country. I'm not sure he'll make it, because you won't even have the crackpots. But it goes to show you what Nancy Pelosi wants. She doesn't want an investigation. She doesn't want a fact-finding mission. She wants some scumbag chode who's already made up his mind to write his own opinions on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
this government's a joke, Laura. This government is a joke now.
Nancy,
scary joke.
Fact is like jumbo shrimp. Doesn't exist. Tell man hands to go away.
Burn.
I'm so wrong.
Nancy man hands.
I don't like that woman. She's evil incarnate. Question probably redundant, but if the fate, this is a good question, but we'd have to do.
Maybe I could put a new spin on it though. What is it?
Well, I need more numbers. But if the fatality rates for heart disease, flu, etc., is accounted for back to their historical averages, exactly how mild is the coronavirus pandemic?
That's a great question, because we have been doing some work on that, and in truth, we started on that right away. But then these burden estimates are tricky, and it's true with the flu too. A year later, it's going to change. 2 years later, it's going to change, and then the number's right. You don't even know how much to trust them to begin with, because they may just be bogus. But we did I could tell you this, in the beginning of this thing, when it was 13 days to stop the spread, or 15 days to whatever the hell it was, right? At that time, pneumonia deaths recorded were 80% lower than their typical, not only their typical average, but because so far that data has not been revised. That's why I'm going back that far. But it not only their historical average, but we were having a particularly bad pneumonia year leading up to this thing. All right. And they plummeted. Pneumonia deaths essentially evaporated from the burden estimates when COVID came along. And everything before, leading up to December, was suggesting we were going to have a very bad year. So if you look at the average, it was like 80% decline, and then a complete fall off the cliff level drop off when COVID came on the scene. I mean, it was very clear pneumonia was being packed into COVID. Very, very clear. And sometimes that's understandable. It's a severe acute respiratory syndrome. But if you had a severe case of pneumonia and you were sick, and then you got COVID and died, you died from pneumonia. You did not die from COVID. You were already in trouble. Right. These people, a lot of them, some of them were children too, that they,
or my favorite was the cancer
not children, but
patient
younger
that
people,
died
because
from cancer. But
that's right.
COVID towards the end.
So they
It's
died
like,
from
that's
COVID.
it.
The reason why they inflated these numbers, guys, is very clear. I mean, they got more money. So they were willing to go along with a political strategy that was dishonest because they were stuffing their pockets. You get more money for a COVID death. You don't get money for pneumonia death.
They were wheeling dealing.
They were making cream on it. I mean, take your heads out of your butts, man.
Look at the angles.
Oh my God, it's all about angles. It's always about angles. Always look for the angles. Always look for the angles. Everybody has an angle. Everybody. And the bottom line is, some of those younger patients that were dying, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to make COVID look like it was particularly dangerous to like the 25 to 30 plus crowd. That's what they were doing.
Well, that's
because pneumonia
they weren't
was
listening,
yeah,
and they weren't staying home. They were still going
right
out to bars.
Well, no, but
fun.
I'm saying they were trying to they were taking those pneumonia deaths and packing them in they're packing COVID with them because they wanted America to think that COVID was dangerous to young, healthy people. Right. That's right. It was very dishonest.
Yeah, but that goes what I'm saying. The reason why they instilled that fear was because the 20s.
Absolutely.
They were just like, yeah, well, I can heal from this. Grandma might not.
And 15 and younger.
Grandma,
and 15 and younger. You remember that?
Yeah,
15 and younger was like the flu and pneumonia was way more deadly to them than COVID. COVID wasn't even deadly to them. I mean, there's by no serious measure could you take that percentage and call and even refer to it as deadly. But that is not true of pneumonia, which was like 80+% more fatal to, like, you had a 80+% like higher chance of dying from pneumonia if you were below 15 than COVID at that time. And I mean, that's a great, I would love, by the way, to to do it more. Well, we're at the mercy of them updating the burden estimates. You'll find the flu burden estimates adjusted for 2 years ago soon. After this winter's over, they'll do, that's how it works. That's actually typical, though. It's not just COVID. They revise quite a bit.
I got 3 more questions. What is the scenario you
California?
can see playing where the Senate GOP moves Mitch, if any?
That's a great question. I see this scenario where a bunch of MAGA, whatever you want to call them, because Laura is right that there are a lot of people who have in this movement called MAGA, whatever you say. In that movement, there are a lot of like hero syndromes. And these are people who, I can take this seat. Only I could do this. Only I can make a PAC that supports and recruits candidates, for certain issues. Only I could do that. There's tons of them. And rest assured that the John Thunes and the Mitch McConnells and the Tim Scotts and they're down the line, they are going to do everything in their power. The Liz Cheneys, right? They're going to do everything in their power to pack the lane with MAGA people. And this way, they can slip through with 20% of the vote, 25, 30%. They would love, Liz Cheney would love nothing more than to have 3-4 candidates run against her. Really,
but
she would.
Gonna do that, Liz.
But that's where things are just gonna have to get. There's no time to play nice. No. There's no time, right? So I mean,
we'll let you know.
Let me put it like this, and I did put it like this at a recent dinner. All right, like if I want a Kennedy to run, and somebody else wants to get in that lane, I will paint you as Sirhan, and I will destroy you. Okay, you are gonna go. You're gonna go one way or the other. You're gonna go the nice and graceful way, or you're going to go out on your butt bumping a couple of times. I will paint you as Sirhan if I have to. Okay? I am not playing. No
We
more
need
Paul
real
Youngs.
viable
No more Mike Dittmers. No more of that. I mean, not Mike Dittmer. What happened to Mike Dittmer?
Mike Dittmer.
No
Yeah.
more of that. That is over. Over. So Paul Young can sneak by with 2 percentage points to go on to lose to Alyssa Slotkin by 3 points.
All the money
What
in
a
the world
bum.
to save him.
What a bum.
Mhm.
Did I or did I not say in Detroit, this is what is going to happen? Mark my words. This is how this race will play out. Verbatim.
Isn't it recorded?
I think it probably is on tape.
I think
We should look for that video file.
And then we'll play the clip of it. All right. Neil Harris wants to know, do you think Rich and you will do shorter standalone YouTube segments about how polling works, best practice, including terms and terminology?
Yeah. So we did start Inside the Numbers very much like that. But I do have this vision of doing smaller videos explaining terminology. And I want to call it like the tools of the trade to Inside the Numbers, or like your guide to understanding the lingo on Inside the Numbers or something. So yes, the answer to that is absolutely.
All right. Sabrina, are Democrats going to abolish the Electoral College?
They're going to try very hard, especially if they lose in 2024.
And there you have it, Rich Parrish. You answered the question.
It's 1:51, so that's 2 hours on the dot.
Yes, sir.
Don't miss my interview with Don Smith tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. However, his show does start at noon Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. It's always a fantastic show. All right. And so catch it if you can. We are going to do testing today again. I thought it worked yesterday. YouTube made us wait last night. Then we did some stuff that was private in the middle, of the night. It was working fine. We ran again this morning. She ran up, cued the music, did the intro. The whole thing worked perfectly. So this time today, and this is going to go on soon. We're going to do this soon. We're going to do like a test of Periscope. Because what I'm wondering is if they're trying to feed different rates to different, and then if one can't do 9,000 megabytes per second, right? And it fails, then it just sends a signal to pause everything else. Like, because YouTube was fine. And Facebook was fine the first go. Then we removed Periscope and Facebook screwed up. So it killed YouTube. That's what happened this morning. We're going to do them individually. So if you guys want to just hang out, or whatever, we'll open it up.
Now,
It's going to be like,
you're going to hear my kids. You're going to hear
oh yeah, this is not going to be like a show.
All right,
yeah, just mindful of that. This is not going to be a show. This is just going to be a test.
Somebody said, don't tell me about the labor pains, Rich. Just show me the effing baby.
And then maybe we'll give it a go with one of the aggregators. So like something like a Restream or something that blasts out to everything. And then that will kill how much we have to process. Yeah, because our encoder, right, has to process multiple channels. Maybe if we just send it to, the problem is though, I want it perfect quality. And when we do it, our encoder, it's perfect. If we send it to Restream, then it will make it a little, they're going to send whatever rates they want. And they may reduce the quality, which sucks. But the good part about that is there's a built-in thing that feeds no matter where you are, whether you're on Periscope, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube. If you're commenting, it all gets fed to one singular area, and Laura doesn't have to run around like a nutcase on all these social media things, answering and aggregating questions. So that is a benefit to that. Maybe we'll try that first. Maybe we'll try Restream first, but I still do want to do little tests individually with all of these different things to see what in the Sam hell is going on. All right. But in the meantime, I think we got through enough. We got through a lot, quite a bit. We did. We got a lot. So if you want to check on that when you see it, if you see, hey, Facebook Live just went live, that's what we're going to be doing. More than happy to jump on, and we'll even answer questions if everything's all well. If we get everything set up and it seems to be good, what you will be seeing is us shifting between views and stuff. Like, all right, now we're going to bring on a guest one view, because it's cool. It's really cool. It looks, guys, I was so pissed this morning. It looks so much better. This is okay, but it's simplicity. We have, when we're running these tests, it looks so good.
And not only that,
It looks fantastic.
Staying up all night reading, right? Then programming everything to have everything work perfect. Music work, video feeds work, audio's working. I feel like I'm the best thing since ice cream, and then nothing.
You should even have better commercial music. So, you know, you have Bad Habit in the beginning of Inside the Numbers, and we'll have Highway in the beginning of What Are the Odds? And then, but like when we take little breaks, it's like little commercial breaks with these like intense music, and we'll count down and we'll be back in 30 seconds, but not that like normal thing that you see. It's just so much better and really disappointing. So today is test day again. And once we get it right, we'll get it right. Is what it is, folks. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to go. Am I missing anything? Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube before you go. And I can see there are quite a few of you that are doing so. If you did not hit the like button, we'd very much appreciate it if you did. And subscribe if you have not subscribed already. Okay. And then locals, get me on locals. Guys, oh my goodness gracious. That's another reason why I want locals to get their live stream, because it would be much easier. There wouldn't be these problems because it would just go right to locals, and we could do short little videos constantly. You know, like we want to do things for when the economy has an indicator that comes out, all sorts of stuff, legislation. And I can't wait for them to get that done, because now that they took our RTMP, there's no other way to do it. Mm-hmm. Well, there is. I have to build my own RTMP now, which we have to do. We'll do that. All right. But have a fantastic weekend. Oh, Facebook. Don't forget to like the page, People's Pundit Daily on Facebook. And that's a wrap. I think I got out. All right. Yeah. Have a great weekend, and we will see you over the course of the weekend. All right. And do not miss What Are the Odds on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the best, folks. Thanks for joining us. We will love you soon.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love just for a little fun? I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a knife, just to give into the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow